that takes us to our final album for June. We have the debut album from Royale Lynn, Black Magic. Eric, this is another album I'm going to try and sell you on.
Okay.
Because I remember last year we talked about Death Wish as a single featuring Danny Worsnop of Asking Alexandria. And I remember you liking it a decent bit.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to be a little bit more cautious with my recommendation on this one.
Okay.
In the fact that half of this album has a co-write from Cody of Wage War.
Oof.
No.
Rough.
No.
And
Is it so?
I think you can tell.
I can't escape him.
He's everywhere.
He's everywhere. He's in my walls.
But with that being
That's in
said,
Justin's closet.
Yeah.
Hey, Cody.
Get back in the hole.
with that being said, I think that this is a very strong debut album. I had tempered expectations because I listened to all the singles for this, and Battleground was one of the singles, and it is the closer. When it came out as a single, I thought any hope of this album being a top 10 were shot, because I thought Battleground was so mid. And then the album comes out, and every other song on here is so good that I'm willing to forgive Battleground being an underwhelming closer. And the rest of the album being so good has elevated Battleground into not being a nothing burger, but instead it is just an okay song. I still don't think it's a phenomenal closer, but it sonically fits in with the rest of the album. It is not so underwhelming that it is like unlistenable, which is how my first reaction to hearing Battleground was.
The bar was in hell.
The bar was low. But I have, similarly to the Hot Milk album, I've spent a lot of time with this album over the past week or so. Like a very similar amount of time. I think that this album gets off to a very strong start with Greed and Evil. Black Magic has grown on me a lot. Sacrifice was a phenomenal single, probably top 3 song on this album for me. And then you get to the back end of the album with Witch, Inside Out, and Death Wish. Like, half of this album, like, there's a very likely chance that, like, half of this album ends up in my Spotify Wrapped, and that's basically a guarantee this is a top 10 album of the year for me. When I'm going back to so many songs on this album as consistently as I have been for the past week. In theory, there's supposed to be a concept of this album of you have the song Pandora's Box on here, and each song is supposed to tackle some sort of emotion that has something to do with Pandora's Box. I don't fully get it. I didn't fully read into it. But if you are going to listen to this album, you should know that there is a theme going on, but it is not a concept album in the way of like a Nocturnal by Mothica or any of Sweep Token's recent albums. It is not that sort of concept. It's a very loose concept. And I think you can tell. Like I know Death Wish in particular, from watching the music video, there's a lot of visuals of like firefighters and stuff like that, and risking your life for the betterment of others, and that idea of like it's a death wish, like you could die doing this to try and help other people, and kind of living with that sort of grief and putting that burden on other people. And then Dark Mode is a song about like living in a small town where there aren't many opportunities or things to do, and you kind of feel like you're cornered a little bit. And then obviously Greed is about greed. So like there's a lot of ties to emotions, and I think generally each song is able to identify an emotion and sell you on the emotion. But I think conceptually it is not tied together in any one way other than the loose guide of mental health and emotional awareness, which has been done a lot already. Not to say that's a bad thing, but I'm just trying to hit home that like there's a concept. It is not like it is not like a transformative concept. It is a lyrical concept that you'll notice, but it is not building an atmosphere per se. To kind of get a little bit more specific, I think Royale and her vocals are phenomenal, and front to back, you can tell that these songs have been there was a lot of time spent in the studio making sure that these songs are catchy, that there are good hooks, and that they sound big and anthemic. This album as a whole was made for Octane and for big stadiums, for better or worse, you could argue. But to me, like, I'm gonna throw it back to my argument for Shapeshifter, my Memphis Mayfire that we talked about a few months ago. It's like, you like metalcore and you like Maddie Mullen's voice, you're gonna like Memphis Mayfire, you're gonna like the new album. Even if like Shapeshifter is not one of my favorite albums, like I thoroughly enjoyed that album front to back. I had a great time with it. And that's how I feel very similarly to Royale Lynn in a completely different genre. Like, if you like hard rock with a bit of a country twang in her southern vocal accent, and this album is a slam dunk. There is, other than Battleground, not a miss on this album. I have tried to find any other song that is weaker on here. Like, I've been listening to them. Like, at first I thought, like, maybe it's Pandora's Box, maybe it's Dragon, maybe it's Dark Mode. And I listened to all those, and then I remember what those songs sounds like, and I'm like, damn, this song is heat. I've spent a lot of time with this album. I've really enjoyed it. The instrumentation, the production, the vocal delivery is great. Going into a sophomore album following this up, I would like to see more features, because I think Danny Warsenop does a ton to elevate Deathwish, and I think that Royale Lynn's next album, following in the vein of, this is a huge pivot, but Will Lotus or Nothing Nowhere. Think of those albums, whatever Will Lotus's last album is, I don't remember, but Void Eternal by Nothing Nowhere, and how many features that album had. I think Royale Lynn could be in a very similar trajectory of being like this solo artist doing hard rock music, and I think features would elevate a ton of these songs. Not to say that Royale Lynn is bad, or that like her vocal deliveries are underwhelming or boring or bland or any of that, because I think she has a very unique and distinct voice. But I think that given how similar a lot of these songs sound, that having those features would make them stand out even more, open up her music to an even wider audience, and make the album even more memorable. That's what I would like to see going forward, but I think this is a phenomenal starting point as a debut album, and for what I feel like is the first time in a long time this year, the first Dark Horse top 10 album of the year contender for me that has not dropped the ball. It has its flaws, but I was very impressed with this.
You've sold me. I will listen to this despite Cody, not because of him.
There was also one song that had a Maddie Mullins co-write or produce, I think.
Of course.
But only one. To my... I can pull... It's on Instagram somewhere. This is where I saw it. Hold on, let me cook. I know we're trying to wrap up this episode, but... I can find it, surely.
There's always time for Maddie Mullins.
Yeah.
Jake's gonna make an edit point there. We'll come back in with a clap.
And all right. Yep. So we have 1, 2. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4 songs with a Cody co-write, and I'm only seeing one with a Maddie Mullins co-write, which is Black Magic, the title track.
Okay.
I'm also seeing a Josh Gilbert co-write on Battleground.
Yo.
On your least
On my least favorite song on the album. That's a shame.
Rough.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, not that I'm super familiar with Royale Lynn's backstory, but from what I can tell, she tried kind of pioneering like a country rock sort of career for her in the music industry, and has kind of pivoted into doing this hard rock, post-hardcore kind of sound. And whether that was intentional or just circumstance, I think that she has landed it very well, and I think she has a very bright future in the genre. So, yeah, I don't think I have too much more to add.